Sorry. I'll have it for tomorrow. Come on back.
Hi. Imagine being invited to a wedding and seated at the family table with your ex-boyfriend, his ex-wife, and his current girlfriend. Well, it really did happen, but it really was a happy occasion, but I'm going to back up a little. About 15 years ago, I had the good fortune to become friends with a man named Dan. We were part of a weekly biking group, and along the way, his son Mark joined us, and later on Mark's girlfriend Melanie and Dan's girlfriend Mary. So Mark, Melanie, and I all worked in school, so we had summers off. So there was lots of time for biking and getting together for dinners and lunches, and pretty soon we met for holidays and birthdays and became quite good friends. So one day in the summer of 2009, Dan and I were biking on Block Island with Mark, who was in grad school at the time, and Mark and I went into a shop to get an ice cream. The clerk, who was a woman about my age, with whom Mark was acquainted, asked, "Is this your mom?" And Mark said, Mark didn't get to say anything. I jumped in and said, "Oh no, I can't take credit for him." Mark was and is one of the most wonderful young men I've ever met, I've ever known. He is a school psychologist. He's an officer in the National Guard, and he shares his dad's intelligence, good humor, and integrity. But I'd never met Mark's mom, Lolly, until the happy occasion, the wedding, when I was seated at the family table, and she greeted me with, "So this is the famous Dianne I've heard so much about." And it was very sincere and genuine, and I was so pleased to be part of this little family on this special day. So we all became pretty close. Mark and his mom Lolly, I didn't get to know that well at first. Mark's dad and his girlfriend and I became pretty good friends, and here we are at the wedding. So I saw Lolly again 2 summers later when Dan had a pool party. Mark was taking a swim. Lolly and I were seated side by side in lawn chairs, and Dan was cooking and grilling with his girlfriend Mary and 2 other female friends. And Lolly said, "Oh, look at Dan and his women," and we laughed. And it was only then that I noticed she had a little bit of a southern accent. So she explained that she was born and brought up in Tennessee, something I hadn't known. Then she went into full force southern talk, much to my delight. So I became pretty close to Mark and Melanie and Dan. And I didn't see Lolly again until actually the pool party. I never did see her again. That fall, I'm going to put a picture of, I'm not sure what the picture is. The pictures are hard to do.
Graduation.
Oh, that's Mark Adams' graduation with his mom. Okay, so I never did see her again. That fall she had foot surgery, and I sent her some thick fuzzy socks, the same kind I had when I had foot surgery. We exchanged Thanksgiving and Christmas cards. Then a fierce winter gave way to spring, and on the spring day, Lolly died. Alone, young, and suddenly. My heart grieved for Mark, her only child, and Mark and Melanie went about doing the things one must do when a loved one passes, and then a beautiful memorial service was held. Then summer came. Mark, Melanie, and I were all out of school, and Mark and Melanie were cleaning the house and clearing it to be sold, and I showed up to help. What I found when I arrived was a home full of, I'm going to put Lolly's picture up here, a home full of interesting things surrounded by flowers. Imagine inside bright blue glass, pottery, blue willow china, antique bottles arranged on shelves, the kind of stuff you'd find in my home. And on this really hot, humid day, I got the best job, I got the books. So seated on the rug with a fan hitting me, for a full day I sorted the books. And I put piles together for people I knew who had particular interests, counted and sorted the rest to go to Goodwill and boxed them up. But it wasn't until a week later when I was on book duty for the second time that I realized I'd been given a gift. And the gift was getting to know Lolly through her books. In perusing Lolly's books, I found a woman with an incredible curiosity for life. I found that she loved to travel. Italy, Spain, England, Scotland were travel destinations represented in large coffee table books. Foreign language dictionaries, foreign language tapes. There were many cookbooks representing those countries, Lolly's home state of Tennessee and her adopted Rhode Island home. Many books on psychology reminded me that Lolly shared the same career as her ex-husband and that Mark, their son, had followed in the same path. There were children's books, many that I thought, children's books that I thought Mark, she had saved for Mark, for the grandchildren she probably hoped to have one day. There were books on the Civil War showing me she had a keen interest in that. And I wondered, did Lolly have an intense interest in fashion, or could she just not bear to throw out 3 perfectly preserved ladies' home journals from 1900, 1901, and 1902? Why would I not? Oh, gardening. The gardens around her home were beautiful, and there were tons of gardening books. I found a book with tabbed pages indicating that she perhaps had planned to plant crabapple trees, azaleas, ferns, and evergreens. There was a list of flowers in Lolly's handwriting, including a really poignant Jacob's Ladder, Stairway to Heaven. And poetry. Why would I not be surprised that Lolly loved poetry? Lacing her love of nature and flowers, living alone in a tiny cottage in Rhode Island, to my life living in a tiny cottage surrounded by flowers here in Cape Cod, Lolly and I both shared a love of poetry. There were titles by Emily Dickinson, Robert Frost, and Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the beat poet. And I imagined Lolly sitting on the lawn at Brown University on a sunny day in a blanket, maybe listening to Ferlinghetti read his poems out loud. There were many novels, some I had read and delighted that she had too, like The Road from Corinne by Jill Kerr Conway. You must read this, I said to Melanie, giving her the book. Jill Kerr Conway grew up on a remote sheep station in Australia, never saw another girl child until she was 10, and went on to be the first woman president of Smith College. So on this second day with Lolly's books, it was amazing, the connection that I felt with her. I took home a book on the most beautiful drives in the country, tabbed pages indicating drives that maybe Lolly took or planned to take. Maybe I would have taken with her. So about a year after Lolly's death, Mark called me to tell me that he and Melanie were divorcing. He told me that he called me second only after his dad because he thought of me as a second mother. So through my friendship with Dan and Mark, I'd received the gift of family. Not the kind of family one is born into, but the kind of family one chooses. A chance seating at her son's wedding and sitting beside her at a pool party brought Lolly to me as a friend, and she lives in my memory as a dear one. And the blessing of a family by design, a family that I didn't choose, came to me. Family by design, something totally unexpected and lovely. I'd like to introduce our next storyteller, Paul Apfel.